Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Key to Football. We've got a great podcast lined up for you today. I have a feeling it's going to get pretty fiery at points because we're just doing the run over before this, and let's just say there's a very few differing opinions going on today. Look, I'm going to introduce who we've got on today. We've got George O'Gara Martins, as per usual, back from hiding under a rock. We have Liam George here, who probably is now going to start hiding under a rock if they don't make top four. And we've got a guest, actually. We've got Connor coming on. Connor, I'll let you introduce yourself. How you doing, Connor?
Yeah, I'm very well, guys. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm a keen listener, so I've been looking forward to this. Although you probably could have asked me to come on after a different game after last night's result.
Yeah, for
Obviously,
sure.
I'm a big Arsenal fan, so
yeah, it's I am sorry, Connor. This is probably not the best one for you to be on, unfortunately. But when a couple of drinks were down, it was definitely the best time to ask you. And
yeah.
just so happens
you backed me into a corner. I couldn't say no.
But look, we're going to get onto that part later on because I mean, having two Arsenal fans on today is going to be gold dust. And we will get into that game, the Spurs game. We'll get into the refereeing. I'll just run you quickly through what's going to happen, everybody. So please do follow us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You'll also find this on YouTube. And you get to kind of follow along a bit better if you are following on YouTube. It's really good. And you can find that at the Key to Football, all spelt correctly, one word. Let's start off today. I think we're going to try and get through about 5 topics, and we'll run through some results. The topics I want to get through are the top 4 battle predictions. I want to get through, there's been a bit of news recently about pundits and kind of like, are they favoring their teams too much? The standard of refereeing in, the Premier League. We're going to go into that. We've got to get our resident Leeds expert on and talk about Leeds and the hope that he has. And then we'll finish off, if we have time, with the Liverpool-Chelsea FA Cup predictions for the final tomorrow. All right, let's get into top 4 because that's a nice, peaceful, hopefully talking point that we can get into. And I am going to start with you, Connor, and I want to get your opinions on, let's actually give me the order of 1 to 4 and what you think the order will be. I think the first 2 are pretty set in stone now, but Chelsea might slip up.
I think that Man City will win the title. I can't see them slipping up. I feel like they've probably got the better squad. They're in the better form, and they have less distractions, obviously, after being knocked out of the Champions League. I think Liverpool obviously will just come short. I think it may literally be a point, a point, 3 points. Chelsea seem to have got third tied up, unfortunately. But I'm sure they'll seal that this weekend. Now, obviously, I'm a Gooner, so my Arsenal hat is firmly on. Last night's result was obviously a tough watch. I still think that we will do it, but it will go down to the last day.
Do you think you'll drop points?
Potentially, yeah. I can see us dropping points at Newcastle. I can see Spurs being Spursy and dropping points against Burnley.
That's true. It's a good point. Liam, do you concur? What are your theories? Any wild cards in there?
No wild cards, unfortunately. I think we may struggle against Newcastle. I think Newcastle have been playing well at home recently. The blind faith in me wants to see Spurs tripping up against the Burnley side at home after last night. They're notorious for playing a big game and then coming up against a lesser opposition and then falling flat on their face. So I'm just hoping for a repeat of that and to see that again. But I don't know. A lot of positivity has been flying around today. None more so than from Arteta saying that the game's gone now. It's history. The next game is Newcastle. The game after that is Everton. We win both those and we get top 4.
It's still in your hands, isn't it?
It is still in our hands, but also it does slightly feel out of our hands a little bit. I can't see us swimmingly bypassing Newcastle. I think it's going to be difficult.
That's a tough game. Newcastle, they play very well at home, and I think that will be a tough one. And I'm guessing, George, that you want the opposite, and you definitely do not want Burnley to beat Spurs. Am I right on that?
I mean, the police force are really missing a trick, not having you as a detective. Obviously, my view, as I've been saying for weeks, is I think this country should do away with the 4th place because no teams that are going for 4th deserve it. Sorry. Connor and Liam, Arsenal, massive club. I've always said 3rd biggest in England by quite some margin. You've lost 12 games. Spurs have lost 11. Man United have lost 11. I just don't think that's good enough. You know what? Give Poland an extra place. Give Sweden a Swedish team an extra. Honestly, mate, none of the teams deserve it. Just like Burnley, Watford, Leeds, Norwich, and Everton. Send all of us down because we've all been crap. Send all of us down, and then just eradicate the 4th for this year. Or you know what? Just give it to Norwich and keep them up and see how they do. But yeah. I think trouble is, I agree with Liam and Connor saying that Spurs, it's in their DNA to drop stuff, but I just cannot see Arsenal beating Everton.
Really?
It stinks. That game absolutely. Remember last time they played Everton when Liam helpfully reminded us they hadn't scored or anything in like 19 games, and that Damari Gray screamer, that was the only win flags. Yeah, nailed on. The ghost of Ashley Williams will ascend and head one in. And honestly, I think Arsenal put in a quality performance, really good against Newcastle, probably beaten 4-1. Spurs might eke past Burnley, but then I think they'll beat Norwich, and then I think Everton will beat Arsenal. So I don't really care much who finishes 4th, but unfortunately, I think it'll probably be Spurs.
I feel like Everton's fate will probably be decided before then. I think if they win their next game and Leeds lose to Brighton, I feel like that will pretty much, I think that seals it. But Everton have a game in hand as well, right?
Yeah. It's not about Everton. As far as I'm concerned, Everton are safe now. It's a straight shootout between us and Burnley. I just think that, let's say they do stay up, all the Everton fans going down to the Emirates, party atmosphere. You know, I mean, so poetic if Iwobi scored. Like stuff like this is just going to happen.
Bring on what's his name, Dele Alli, the old Spurs boy.
Well, that's me and Connor were saying before we started. It's that thing where he was asking me about Leeds, and when you get behind your team and try to give them that extra 10%, it ends up taking 25% off the performance level because they panic and they just go into their shell, which unfortunately Arsenal have been guilty of for about 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. On retrospect of last night's game, watching it, I think the calmer heads prevailed. And yes, there was they weren't helped at points in that game, Arsenal, but it did, the calmer heads in that. I feel like Conte had quite a good control over the squad in that game. And maybe that's a bit for Arsenal to learn in the future, but I'm sure we'll get onto that very shortly. So do you think Spurs are going to get it? Did you say, George?
With great reluctance, yeah, I think Spurs will do it.
And obviously City win.
Yeah, and then you second, Chelsea third.
Cool. I'm going to go, yeah, I think first, I agree with all of you guys on the first, second, third. And then I'm going to go Spurs. I think that mentally will have done... mentally, that will have done some damage. And it's quite funny because if I get that right, and I get my prediction for relegation right. All my predictions for the halfway point would be right because I went with Spurs. Spurs being top 4, and I went with Leeds being relegated halfway through the season.
Decent work.
Yeah, so look, that's why you listen to me, guys, and you don't listen to these chumps. Okay, we'll move on to that. It's interesting though that one thing that the top 4 does, and I get why, George, you're saying get rid of it. But one thing it does is every year in the last 2 games of a season, it does give us, like last year, it was Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea all fighting for it on the last day, and Leicester did the honest choke. Same thing with the season before. Leicester again on the last day of the season choked. And it's funny that you say that we should get rid of the 4th one, and actually what's happening in 2024, we are adding another one. 5th spot gets Champions League as well. It's a quarter of the league. A quarter of a league gets Champions League. It's absolutely mental. It's pretty weird. I hope it doesn't take away from the battle that we get for 4th every year, because the battle for 4th is such a beautiful thing at the end of the season when you have 2 teams like Leicester and not Leicester, well, Arsenal and Spurs going at it. Okay, we'll go into pundits and do they favor their two teams too much? So this stemmed from, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Everton versus Liverpool, and Jamie Carragher was commenting on the Liverpool game, and I think Richarlison went down, and Jamie Carragher was very, pretty adamant that Richarlison had dived. Turns out Richarlison had rolled his ankle, and there was quite a lot of backlash that the pundits and the commentators are favoring that, very passionate. And I think I'm in a weird perspective where I quite like it, not just Jamie Carragher, like Micah Richards and Martin Keown and whatnot. Like I do like all. Sorry, something in my headset just went off. No, I quite like that. I quite like it, but there's an argument going on that it's gone too far. That pundits should be neutral, and that because they are the people that we listen to, they should be, essentially a neutral source. What do you think on that? I'm going to go with Liam. Liam, what do you think on that?
I don't mind it. I mean, the thing is, you're asking people that are ex-players that have played in the Premier League for many years, and most of them, we're talking about, we look at the likes of Henry, Neville, Carragher, Micah Richards, you've got Keane in there. You've got all these players that have been
Gary Neville,
that have been in their own teams for years, right? So they're not like ones that have dotted about teams. They've been players for one club for their entire career. So you're asking them not to favour the team that they've spent half their life probably working for.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind it. What grates me is when they've got a platform and they've got an ability to speak and they've got an ability to give their opinion. Their opinion needs to be of not necessarily a neutral point of view, because obviously that wouldn't be their opinion otherwise, and they're just going to be trying to sit on the fence all the time, and nobody wants that. But I mean, the one that springs to mind for me is Neville, who's just been sitting on that Manchester United bandwagon for months, even when they're falling apart in front of us all, slating other clubs, saying that they're going to get in front of them or they're going to fall apart. Last night, I mean, we were obviously out together watching the game. We weren't able to hear the commentary, but since listening to it back, some of the comments he's made that when certain instances in the game were blatantly obvious, he chose not to comment on them. And then the first thing he did after the game is absolutely slate Arsenal into the ground. He's then gone and done a Daily Mail column and said how Tottenham are now favourites for it, and he can't see Arsenal picking up any more points. And it's that sort of stuff that when he's shoving his own opinion down people's throats without, the odd fan like me and you can't go back at him about it. That's what grinds my gears. You've got to be opinionated, but you've also got to have that little bit of nous to think, I'm not going to wind up.
Do you think he's targeting Arsenal? Do you think he's targeting Arsenal?
I think he has been for a little while. Yeah, I think because United have been directly rivaled with Arsenal this season for that top 4 spot, right? So naturally we're going to be in line as long as Tottenham and that. But if you're asking me if Arsenal been the forefront of his force and his attacks aside from, Spurs and West Ham, yeah, I think so.
In retrospect, I probably do think that he has been a bit more critical of Arsenal than Spurs because he waxes lyrical about Conte nonstop.
Exactly.
But it's interesting. I actually think that Gary Neville's a very fair pundit, but that might be because I'm Liverpool mindset and you can't really say anything bad about Liverpool right now.
Don't get me wrong. He also slags United off, right? Because United have had a terrible season and he does that. But I just feel like sometimes he oversteps his position as a pundit. And you can argue should pundits be neutral? I don't think they should be neutral, but I don't think they should be, jumping on that bandwagon of one club, shoving it down everyone's throat week in, week out about how United are going to do this and United are going to do that, even when they're falling apart in front of everyone, and then slating other clubs.
What do you think the level is? Do you think the right balance is maybe someone like a Keane, or is it Micah? I think Micah Richards pushes it. I like Micah Richards. I think
Richards is fair. I think Richards is still new, so I don't think he wants to really maybe throw his opinion about too much as of yet. Keane is just a grumpy old man. I quite like him.
I love Keane.
He does his own thing. I don't mind it. Carragher, we threw some names out there last night. You obviously said that you didn't like Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, I'm not. I think he's the worst out of all of them. Rio, you can come on and you can argue your case if you want. But I think he is. I think he is the most biased out of all of them by a long way. Pardon?
Why is that?
I think it's really weird. I don't get that vibe from Neville. That I think Neville's very critical of Man United, and he says some things like, "Oh, I think that Man United will still get top 4." When I hear him say that, I don't actually think he means it. I think what he's doing is he's just trying to be nice to the United fans, so they don't all back up. They don't all crush him. But when Rio Ferdinand says he thinks that Man United are definitely the fourth best team in England, and they're going to make top 4. Thought they were going to beat Atletico Madrid, absolute. The guy's mental, unbelievable. The most part, he's very, and me and Liam had this discussion last night. He's actually really good when it was Liverpool versus Villarreal. He was completely fair. It's just when Man United's involved, I get really annoyed about him because I think he's so biased.
I think his opinions, neutral games. I think his opinions are good, and I think he makes good points. But I think he's one of the worst ones where his own club then comes into it and he gets quite blindsided. He almost gets tunnel vision and he thinks it's United or the highway, Yeah. And I think that is the difference between some of the pundits we're talking about.
Yeah. George, anything you wanted to say on that?
I could go for years, to be honest. Absolutely years. To be fair, I think Liam's been pretty concise and pretty accurate there with everything he said. I just think the one thing that probably winds me up is, let's say on the off chance Leeds or Palace or, I don't know, Brighton are on TV Monday night, 8 o'clock kickoff, coverage starts at 7, finishes at 10. 7 to 7:50, we'll be speaking about Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea or Arsenal. Yeah. And we get 33 seconds each before ad breaks talking about our games. Then afterwards, and now this is the thing that annoys me, because what Liam's saying, they've had their time and they obviously have to look back to their own experiences, and everyone's interested. I'm sure Liam and Connor love hearing Keown and Bergkamp and Ray Parlour talking about the Arsenal dressing rooms, and I love it when Leeds players do it and stuff. But when Neville goes, when I was at Man United, we did this, and they don't do that anymore. Well, when he came through, John Major was Prime Minister. He isn't anymore. It's irrelevant. Rio does it as well. He goes, when I was at Man United, you sat in the Leeds chairman's office and forced to move to Man United 2 decades ago. Forget that. I'm sick to the back teeth of hearing it every single time. When I was at Man United, when I was at Liverpool, because Carragher goes, Tottenham fans, Man United fans, it's never as bad as you think. How many times I've heard, when we played Man United, we knew we had to be on top of our game. It's the same lines again and again and again and again. And it's just like, but what do you expect?
It's a very, very valid point.
And one other thing I actually would add, there needs to be a clear out. I really do like Graham Souness in terms of managerial. Hold on, Liam. Represents a bygone age, but unless it's literally carting him out as an excuse for a Newcastle pundit is a disgrace.
Yeah.
Carting out Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Jermaine Beckford for Leeds is terrible. Clinton Morrison for Crystal Palace.
I think people are turning them down now, to be honest. Do you know what though? All this aside,
That tickled me, that one.
Theo Walcott last
I'm sorry,
night
mate. That's why you lost. What is he doing on the TV?
Not only that,
What is
George,
Teddy
right?
Walcott doing on my screen?
He was asked who he was supporting that evening, and you know what he said? He sat on the fence. He actually sat on the fence. The guy scored like 5 North London derby goals, and he sat on the fence. I couldn't believe it. I was all over Twitter this morning. Apparently, when they asked him who he wants to win, he was like, "I'm not really bothered. Not really bothered. You played for Arsenal for like a decade, mate." I thought that was atrocious. I need to hear it myself to believe it, but apparently that's what he said.
Why
Connor,
wasn't he wearing a
I didn't
suit?
even
either?
know that. You know, that is controversial. to say the
Yeah,
least.
I've read it this morning. I couldn't believe it.
That is so controversial. Theo.
Connor, do you have anything to add to the pundits being favoured towards their own team?
I think it's very difficult. Like Liam pretty much hit the nail on the head when he said the majority of these pundits have played for these clubs for such a long period of time. Like Jamie Carragher's only ever played, although he was a boyhood Everton fan, which a lot of people like to call him out. He was at Liverpool for the majority, like his whole career.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes. I mean, look, we all love our teams, right? It's hard sometimes to turn the blinkers off.
Oh, 100%.
Especially when you're passionate about it. But I think Jamie Carragher is actually the best pundit around at the moment. I honestly do. I used to think it was Gary Neville. I used to really like Gary Neville, and they're a good combo on Monday Night Football.
They are the best though, aren't they? When they go into the analytics after the game, it is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all right, yeah.
I feel like Gary Neville was falling off a little bit, and
He's lost his head.
Yes, yeah. I feel like this season in particular. I mean, I think it was 6-7 weeks ago. I might be maybe a bit
When he said United would get top
He
4.
was convinced that Man U were going to get top 4. Convinced, right?
It wasn't just a comment. He was fully convinced that was going to happen.
Yeah, they had just been absolutely popped by Manchester City 4-1, right? Absolutely schooled in their own backyard. And he was adamant that they were going to finish 4th. And he must have been watching a different game. He must have, and he must be watching a different team this season because they have been so poor.
The worst performance by a team that's ever finished in the top 6.
Well,
They've got to be the worst.
And that is exactly my point as to why we just need to cull some of the dross we're sending to represent our football on the European stage.
Well, Spice teams have done it though. They got rid of most of the team, didn't they? And they brought in your Clinton Morrisons, who you're obviously not a fan of.
Well, do you know what I would say? One thing I will say about Sky is, with the exception of Theodore yesterday, they always look smart, which I actually like. I mean, Micah Richards' hair is always tapered, really smart, lovely suit. Souness always very smart. Neville and Carragher, Neville's wearing a nice Moncler jacket a couple of weeks ago. Always looking fresh. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And you know what? So they should be with the money that people pay for those subscriptions. But you know who I want to see? Just a Garth Crooks. I want to see Garth Crooks on Sky in his little V-neck thing, falling asleep.
I want Troy Deeney full time. Bring back Troy Deeney when he was in. He was great for the Watford ones. All right, let's move on. Look, this is the one that I've been excited for all day. I want to get into the standards of refs. Now we've spoke about this before throughout the podcast, and it's been quite passionate, and it's always good having an Arsenal fan on because there's a lot of what's the word, victimization, I would say, by Arsenal. But look, last night I'll run you through the score of this game. It was 3-0 to Spurs. Spurs versus Arsenal, 3-0. Harry Kane got a 22nd minute penalty, and it was a bit of a dodgy penalty. Now, I thought it was soft. In retrospect, it is a foul. However, it's those fouls are never given as penalties, in my opinion. Like, the consistency is the big point there. Then I think he scored in the 37th minute, but this is after a red card for holding, double yellow. Now, I'll get into this, my point on this in a minute, but the red card was the second was definitely a yellow card. He got double yellowed, sent off, pretty much ruined what was going to be a very good game. And then in the 47th minute, Son scored to make it 3-0, and the game was over as soon as that red card happened. Now, there has been a massive outcry by fans, not just of Arsenal, all over the Premier League, that watched this and thought that the reffing was too much for. I'm brain blanking on the referee's name. Liam.
Tierney. It's stained in my mind, Paul Tierney.
And that it was a shocking officiated game, and it's happened one too many times in the Premier League, and it's ruined what has been, well, talked about as the biggest game of Arsenal's last 7 years, essentially bigger than the finals, is what I was getting from some fans. And I thought I'm gonna let Liam go and speak about what he thought of the game, because then I will bring up my viewpoints afterwards.
Well, first, Bob, because obviously we were there together, right? We were watching with Connor as well. Firstly, because we're obviously Arsenal fans, right? And you know, sometimes you can say that we've got the tunnel vision to say that we're only going to see really through red tinted glasses. Because you said something interesting last night about, you know, you're obviously in that race last night. You're nothing to do with it in terms of Liverpool. You're Liverpool way above it. It doesn't really affect you. But you were very, more so than a lot of neutrals, you were very adamant that was ruined by the referee last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we discussed it on the way home, how shocking the decisions were. From your perspective, again, just explain to me exactly why you felt like that as well, because we can obviously say, me and Connor will explain how we felt, but I really was interested to hear again what you felt.
Yeah, I watched the game after a couple of glasses of beer, nice pints.
What pints do you have?
What was I? I was on the Heineken, and watching the game with actually, I think it was like 14 Arsenal fans. So you know, I had to be very careful. No, and I watched that, and I thought that Arsenal played pretty well in the first 10 or so minutes. I thought felt like you were controlling the game. I thought that holding, the penalty was soft. I thought that the penalty, I think, in my opinion, he wanted to make a name, wanted to make a mark on the pitch. I thought that this soft. I've seen that happen. I think even Neville said it in the thing. He said, "Oh, I saw, I thought that might have been. I've done that 100 times or whatever it was." And everybody does that. That happens. The other day, I think, if that was a penalty, then 100% the one that Matip did on the Everton player that went through Gordon was a penalty. There's just no consistency, and that's why I get annoyed about it. And the reason I get annoyed about it is because those are such big games. In that, is Paul Tierney the one referee we want for the biggest game of Arsenal's season or the biggest game of Tottenham's season? That should have been a final. We should have got our A team out there and got the best ref. And it looked like he was so slow behind. Now, the yellow card, I thought could have been handled differently. I think that I think it was a yellow. The second was a yellow, and I've watched it again, and I thought, yeah, he needed to be sent off for that because he'd been given the first yellow. I do think that holding was, after rewatching it, I thought that Son completely destroyed Holding 4 times, and Holding kind of did 4 fouls before he got sent off on different stages. He did the one where he wrestled Son to the ground. Son got a bit cheeky, but he gave Son a little nibble in the back. The next one, Son turned him because he was too tight to Son. And then again, Son turned him on another occasion and he brought him down again. So it was 3 times, and he got a yellow card there. And then it was pretty pathetic. The shoulder to the face, like he really didn't need to do that. Like both times, I think that there needs to be a point where a referee says he has to understand that this is a massive game and you've got to play the situation. Both teams were fouling each other. The only reason that we're saying that it was holding all the time is just because he got the red. But yeah, I don't know. I was a bit annoyed about it because I thought it ruined the game. George, did you get to watch it quickly before we let Liam and Connor have a go?
Yeah. What are you asking me, referees or Arsenal Tottenham?
Bit of both.
Arsenal were never going to win last night. Like, they weren't. There is no way Arsenal were winning last night, unfortunately. Which I wouldn't have minded. I was pleased about 8-9 weeks ago when Liam brought this up before, and I said, "Be honest, Mr. George. Do you think now Arsenal aren't in the club at the top that you've noticed some clubs get decisions and others don't?" And he swerved around, but he went, "Yeah, now Arsenal aren't like guaranteed Champions League every year, which was based on quality and nothing else." He said, "Yeah, there is," and stuff like that was always happening. I think I agree with you. Elbow for me was a yellow and a half. It was quite naughty. I've seen reds given for it. I'm not saying it was. I've seen them given.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of that accumulation of fouls and stuff. But I mean, the refereeing's just shambolic. I mean, can't remember who it was. We were playing Watford or someone like that. Leeds, Rafinha goes down. I've seen Salah be given that penalty 8 times this season. Ours wasn't even looked at. Not even. The thing is, it wasn't even the classic. Not even that. He was just like, "What are you doing? Have you fallen?" Like, So shame. Like I said, nobody deserves fourth, so nothing for me. But I think I could see why Arsenal fans would be pretty enraged. But decisions like this have been happening for years and will continue to happen. So,
Connor, anything you wanted to raise on that?
Yeah, it was. I think as a ref, like you mentioned how big a game that was, right? It was essentially a cup final, right? There's a lot, so much was riding on that game, even though the positions at the moment in the table haven't changed. I feel like as a ref, you have to sometimes take a step back and think of the occasion. Right, it's a North London derby anyway, right? Which is a huge rivalry. Like, I'm sure everyone can agree with that. And sometimes you just should let things go. Like, it was a very obviously, as you know, I'm not a big gooner, but that pen was so soft.
Yeah,
so soft. I mean,
a disgrace.
Yeah, it was
a disgrace in a North London derby. The game of this magnitude, it was a disgrace.
Yeah, it was bad. I thought the first yellow card was soft as well. Again, derby, it's going to get physical. I will say the second yellow he got, I think if he didn't have a yellow card, I think he would have got sent off anyway. I think it was a straight red. You can't go running in, leaning in with your elbow around someone's head height. So I think, I just thought it was a poor refereeing performance all round. But you as well rightly said, Rob Holding was played yesterday from minute one. I think the occasion got to him especially. Son was just on him. He was obviously the weak link out of the two centre backs. And he got him sent off. Like he played him well. He got Holding sent off. Holding shouldn't have rose to it. He's not one of our regular players, but he's an experienced player. He's played in FA Cup finals against much shrewder and much more aggressive centre forwards such as Diego Costa. So he knows what should and shouldn't be done, and he cost us yesterday. But the penalty decision for me was never a pen, and I'm pretty sure most people, unless you're a diehard Spurs fan, would agree with that.
Gary Neville.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing for me is, before I let Liam go, I agree with you there. I think what I don't like is the way that so for instance, I'm going to go back to the Liverpool Everton game, a big derby as well, versus the Arsenal Spurs game, a big derby. Liverpool Everton, we got Stuart Atwell, who is I think a better referee, and he decided that he wanted to let the game go, so he let. There was definite yellow cards that weren't even given. There was probably red cards there in that game as well that weren't given. But he let the game flow because he understood that this means so much to both teams, and both teams want to play aggressive. Like both teams would prefer to play aggressive and have like be able to be boisterous and get in there and actually give people shoulder barges. The difference is that a ref decided that he wanted to be strict, and that he wanted to put his foot down and let only what he wanted to do. And I think that I don't get how referees can decide how they want the game to flow. Surely it should be the teams, and then you adjust to that. Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Liam, what do you think about it? Because I know that you've been quite passionate about this for quite a while.
What you just said there is exactly what is wrong with refereeing in the Premier League.
Mhm.
You've just said that one ref one week can decide to ref a game a certain way, and then the next week the ref, because his personal preference, he'll referee a game another way.
Mhm.
That is fundamentally what is going wrong in the Premier League and has been going wrong in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons. It's inconsistency with every ref in every game. Not only that, it's inconsistency amongst the same refs in different games. And then it's also perception. Perception is the number one, and it will be the number one killer disease for me in Premier League, because perceptions of referees will make one tackle from one ref, he'll see it as a free kick, another ref will see it as a yellow card, and the third ref will see it as a red card. How can that be possible in one league when you've got these referees apparently all being trained the same way?
Mhm.
That to me just doesn't make sense. You'll see back at the Emirates when Arsenal beat Tottenham 3-1 back in, I can't remember when it was, maybe November,
You
December.
had to bring that up, didn't you?
Had to. The reason I bring it up, not just because of the win, obviously, come on, Gunners, but because in that game, towards the end of the game, when the game had gone, Harry Kane did practically an identical, and I hope actually we'll be able to, now we've got the YouTube going out, we'll be able to get a graphic of this up, right? Harry
Mhm.
Kane did identical of what Holding did to Son last night.
Mhm.
Identical. It wasn't even a free kick. He's gone in shoulder on shoulder, and the ball's gone, by the way. He's gone in shoulder on shoulder. Sorry, not shoulder on shoulder, shoulder on head. I'm surprised Gabriel didn't even get knocked out, because his shoulder's gone fully forced through Gabriel's head, right?
Mhm.
That's exactly what's happened last night. But the two major differences between it, one ref doesn't even see it as a free kick. One ref deems it, like you said, George, maybe a yellow card and a half. That can't continue. That can't carry on, because we're going to have this problem, and it's getting worse. We're going to have this problem forevermore. We brought in VAR. VAR for me, there's moments that VAR I've complete disbelief in, because
I think it's great for offsides, and that's about it now.
that's about it. That is about it, because this rule about, they said it last night, if he didn't give that pen, VAR is not giving it.
Mm.
Right, and then if he gives it, VAR, even though it's wrong, he's not overturning it.
No.
What's the point in VAR?
The excitement of the game.
It's absolute nonsense. It's I won't swear. It's absolute nonsense, right? What another example I have, right? So we're talking about top tier Premier League is like the best league in the world, blah, blah, blah. We've probably got the worst refs in the world, in my opinion. But you talk about the game a couple of weeks ago. We watched the game, Champions League semi-final, Man City against Real Madrid.
Mhm.
And there was a certain Casemiro on the pitch that day. Didn't play in the first leg, played in the second leg. He almost tore off Foden's head.
Mhm.
And then he almost tore off De Bruyne's leg following on from that. The guy gave away those 2 free kicks, both of them. Probably one of the first ones warranted a yellow card. The second one for me was dangerous and could have warranted a red card.
Mhm.
Didn't even see yellow for the entire game. I think he gave away 6 free kicks or 5 free kicks maybe. We're talking about Holding giving away 3 on an equally big occasion, because you've got Champions League semi-final and you've got 2 teams that are trying to get into the Champions League. Not all right, yeah, not a big occasion.
Oh, maybe.
We're talking about in terms of perception for each club, right? Arsenal and Tottenham both vying to
Yeah.
get into the Champions League. So you've got a big occasion in the grand scheme of things for each individual
Mhm.
club. And you've got a ref that decides to let the game flow. And the commentators actually on that night were discussing it quite a lot, saying, "Oh, this is actually really different, but we kind of like it. It's a bit weird." They were getting
Mhm.
weirded out by it, which says a lot as well. And then you've got a ref that, for me, last night, Connor alluded to it, just could not deal with the occasion. You could say he refed the occasion. He was in a cauldron, like a boiling pot of a stadium, and you could hear it. It was obviously a good atmosphere. He did not have the bottle to referee that game last night, because there was fouls going in. You got Harry Kane in his ear every time a foul was committed. Your son rolling about on the floor every time Holding was near him. There was only so much more he could take before he felt like he had to start lashing out yellow cards and giving away penalties and just playing up to what the atmosphere was in his ear. That was a given. That I can't stand seeing. I can't stand seeing refs roll over to environments. That's exactly what they're trained not to do, right? They're trained to ref the game, not the occasion. And he just could not deal with that occasion last night.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen it today. You might have seen it, Con. I think you have. Son's elbow on Holding.
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah, on the
Now-
ground.
On the ground, right? If that's vice versa, if that's Rob Holding giving Son an elbow on the ground, do you reckon Son's going over, rolling over, holding his face, saying he needs reconstructive surgery? Probably. For me, that's not actually on Son. That's on Holding for not making a meal of it. Because if he makes a meal of that, VAR have to look at it. They won't get involved because Holding just got on with the game. So that, again, I blame Holding for the second yellow. I think, yeah, it's a second yellow. The first yellow wasn't a yellow for me, and it's never a pen for me. Son arguably shouldn't have been on that pitch after the 30th minute because of that moment. But we're not clever enough in that moment as well. And that's where you got to stop playing football and you got to start playing the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that now at all.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think the refereeing standard needs to go up. I think in my opinion, like a couple of things need to change. I think VAR needs to have 3 people and it needs to be majority voted. So like 3 people are looking at each screen. They're not next to each other, majority votes, because that the only way I see that you get the consensus of a foul. I think that we need to start recruit. Why do we only have English refs? Like, what's going on? Like,
that's got to change.
Why can't we recruit the best refs in the world? If we have the best players in the world, why can't we get the best refs?
I totally agree with that. Agree with that. I was just going to say that. Why are we not looking elsewhere? If the standard is that bad, and believe you me, the standard of refereeing is not just bad in the Prem, because I watched a League One second leg playoff game the other day, and the refereeing in that was atrocious, awful. Sunderland against Sheffield Wednesday, and it was, one of my friends is a Sunderland fan. I was like, mate, the standard of refereeing in this game is appalling. He was like, trust me. He was like, you should see, because obviously they don't have the benefit either of VAR, right? And I mean, VAR is a tool that in certain situations is great, but I feel like I feel like the refs to an extent, they're not helped by VAR either. I don't really understand how VAR comes in when it comes into effect. Like, if the cameras have picked up on Son throwing an elbow, does it not need to be looked at?
Do you know what he's done, Con? He's made refs gutless. He's actually taken a little bit of their like refs 2 seasons ago where there was no VAR, a ref would have it within himself to know that I have to make the decision. No one else is going to make that decision. Now a ref will look at a challenge and think, I'm not sure. And where they might have 2 seasons ago gone, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make a decision on that. Now they go, I'll wait to be told in my ear. And then that's up to another ref to do it. And he's sitting in the comfort of a room 30 odd miles away. And he can just decide in the moment whether he wants to do it. He's not getting 60,000 people shouting his ear. So that for me is actually VAR, is whilst it works, like you said, Bob, probably offsides is where it's positive.
They have got better with that this year, with that leniency as well. That's made a massive difference.
It works for offsides for sure, because you can't really get an offside wrong, right?
Yeah.
Now we've seen that. But again, the refs' perceptions is the most dangerous, and for me is a disease in this league. And I don't think VAR changes that, because you've got the same ill-experienced and for some reason, I mean, a lot of them have never actually played football to a high level, making decisions that are clearly above their head. One other thing, and I hope, because I'll literally run through it now, but I hope we can be able to maybe get these graphics up while I just run through them later on when you put it up. But an example, a good example of the levels that the referees are running at now. This is actually a little bit of a legacy one. This is like a year ago, but hopefully they'll pop up now. But you've got Mo Salah and you've got Ruben Diaz going for a tackle on the edge of the box. This is, I think it was last year. And you also in the same, exactly the same. It's almost like a carbon copy. You could have lifted the blueprint of this moment in the game and put it into another game. The exact same moment, right? So Mo Salah is running through, Ruben Diaz brings him down. It's a penalty and it's a yellow card. Okay. The reason it's a yellow card is because they've got a defender on the D that's also tracking back in. So that's apparently by VAR been deemed that there's someone there that can cover. There's another instance, I think it's a week later, where Mahrez is running through for City through onto goal, and you've got David Luiz tracking him. David Luiz brings him down. There's also a player, I believe it's Gabriel, but I need to double check. Be able to see on the screen again. That's also running through the D and is also covering. When you see it now, you'll be looking at hopefully that there is two players that are both inside the D, top right corner of the D, and there's also then two players that are running in the box, one of them bringing the other down. One is a pen and a yellow card. One is a pen and a red card. One is Ruben Diaz for Man City. The other is David Luiz for Arsenal. The only difference to those two moments is the player that has brought the player down. And it's those two players, right? So that is a prime example of referees reffing that moment, looking at who's brought the player down rather than the actual offence that's taken place. David Luiz, it must be a red card in that case, right? Exact problem we've got going on in the league. The accountability side of it is the part that gets me. Mike Dean last year had 2 red cards overturned in the space of 4 days. 4 days, 2 red cards. If me and you make 2 mistakes at work, we're probably getting put on a performance plan, right?
Yeah.
Possibly.
No,
maybe.
you just get fired.
Probably get fired. There you go. Interesting. Where was Mike Dean 2 days after that?
Playing
Refereeing
golf
another
somewhere?
Premier League game.
Oh, nice.
Where's the accountability? The man has made 2 red cards. He's given 2 red cards in 2 games. It probably would have affected the result of those games. And 2 days later, he's reffing another game. No accountability on his head for those 2 mistakes at all. Never spoken about again. Odd, right?
I'm convinced that in certain scenarios with certain teams, Man United under Ferguson, I feel like in certain situations the referees were just told, look, just turn a blind eye.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't need to be convinced of that, Connor, because it's true.
Well, you say that, right? Does everyone remember Mark Housley?
Yeah.
Right, Mark Housley. This is actually a quote. This is a quote from Mark Housley, an ex-Premier League referee.
I'm going to bring this up, by the way, if you send it.
You bring it up, right? So he was a Premier League referee for 14 years in the Prem, from 1999 to 2013, right? This is word on word what he said. I've been in that situation when I've seen an incident and I've been told to say I haven't seen it. To be fair to the FA, it's not them. It comes from the PGMOL, which for everyone is the Professional Game Match Officials Limited. All right, but it doesn't stop there. This is again, quote unquote for him. We've been told to give a certain amount of corners or throw-ins or fouls or bookings, etc. He's been told to do that. The Premier League is rife with spot fixing and bias towards certain clubs from the FA. Every referee in the Premier League could be in front of a court day one day soon. How scary is that? I mean, look, we're not stupid enough to know that it doesn't go on, but that's a Premier League referee for 13 years he refed, or 14 years in the Prem. That's from his mouth. That is damning for me. I can't believe that.
Believe it, Liam. It's true.
Oh, it is true.
You can't click your heels and go back to Kansas, Dorothy. Sorry. It's true. I don't know if it's the same referee, but I saw something on a podcast a few months ago where he said he managed, I think it was Man United Leeds in like 2000, and he gave a decision for Alan Smith that was a bit soft. Ferguson enraged, doesn't ref in the Prem again for 9 years. Don't laugh, Maze, don't laugh, because it's true. One thing I just do want to say, and it's going a little bit off referees, and I know Liam's going to get very upset. Connor perhaps a little bit as well.
Mute him.
hold on, Liam. You're absolutely right to look at the game and look at some of the refereeing decisions that have taken place and gone, that's not on, that's not right. But I'm going to give you the chance now to separate. Irrespective of what happens, last night's refereeing performance isn't the reason you're not going to get top 4 if you don't get it. And all the refereeing decisions you've had go against you throughout the season also isn't the reason. Might contribute in a small way, but like I was saying before, you've lost 12 games. Thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you end up where you end up, right?
Yep.
Table doesn't lie.
Table doesn't lie.
Oh, it is lying. Leeds should be last.
There is no doubt a certain amount of games. Well, Arsenal have obviously had the most red cards this season, I think.
You're tied at the moment. You are tied.
Okay. There we go.
With
Good stats knowledge, Bob.
Everton.
God, I thought
I
Leeds
don't-
are- Leeds.
We've had most yellows.
Yeah, and most fouls as well, I believe. You are now, Arsenal are now, like I said, top joint. There has been instances where more of them, most of them are deserved. Like there's been some erratic behaviour from Arsenal players this year, and I think a lot of it is down to the fact that they're quite immature. There's a lot of youngsters in there, and a lot of players like last night, Rob Holding. Once you know you're on a yellow, rightly or not, or wrongly, you should be able to manage your emotions from then professionally. And he's not young, is he 25, 24, 25 maybe? So he should know better. There have been instances where we have been down to 10 men and we shouldn't have been, that potentially have cost us points, George. But like you said, the table don't lie. We are where we are. Right now, if you're talking about top 4, we are a point ahead with 2 games to go. If we don't get top 4 for, in the next 2 games, we don't deserve it. Fact. Unless Paul Tierney's refereeing another one of our games.
Connor, do you agree? Do you think that it's due to red cards that you might not make top 4?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, just because you go down to 10 men doesn't mean that you can't get a result in a football game. So if we look, you like you said, the table doesn't lie. You are where you are because you win, draw, and lose a certain amount of games. Circumstances happen. It's not always going to go your way. You have to pull your socks up and get on with it. At the moment, like Liam just said, we're a point ahead. If we don't finish 4th, it's because we haven't been good enough the next 2 games to beat the teams that are 14th and 16th in the league.
That's a good point.
You don't deserve to be 4th if you're not beating those sides. Like if our last 2 games were against Liverpool and City and we get beat, you think to yourself, it's if you're playing against 2 far superior teams and you're not getting that, we didn't get results. And we lost home and away to those sides this year, right? Which is kind of to be expected. They're kind of like free hits. But if Arsenal don't beat Everton and Newcastle, who Everton are a poor side, and I still can't believe Liam. I know that result rattled Liam, but when we lost at Goodison, I couldn't get my head around that. It was ridiculous.
We'll talk about it.
That was an absolute strike, though.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the first one or the second one? You haven't played him twice, yeah. Sorry.
No, we played him last game.
Yeah.
I played him last game, but yeah, I don't think you can blame red cards and decisions for not finishing in a certain place. At the end of the day, you put the ball in the back of the net, you win games or you draw games.
Yeah.
Simple.
It's very true. Guys, it was a really interesting discussion. I just wanted to finish off on this because I see all these stats that since Arteta's joined, there's been no other club. It's actually quite a little bit misleading because over each of those 3 seasons that he's been there, you haven't been the most red cards in that season. The thing is, you're just always up there. You're always second, first, or third, which is why it's like it is quite misleading. So this year, you are tied with Everton, 4 red cards each. So you've got 4, they've got 4. In last season, Brighton had 6 and you had 5. And then the season before, I think it was either you or City, like one of you two. I think City might have had 1 more or the other way around.
Just for the Premier League?
Just for the Premier League, yeah. I'm not going into the other ones.
We had a couple of red cards against you, I think, didn't we? In the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, but like just because of keeping it the same level for everybody in the Premier League. I've gone with those. So yes, I agree that there is like there needs to be looked at, but it doesn't. You guys, there must be disciplinary issues in that squad for it to be so consistent. As well,
for sure.
Yeah,
definitely some sort of discipline issue at Arsenal. Must be.
I don't think it's discipline. I don't believe that. I think if you look at these players, I don't think they're ill-disciplined. I think they're young and they're immature. I think you could probably pinpoint the well. But what is ill-discipline? Is ill-discipline like
just
out of control? It's out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control, right? And not thinking. I don't think these guys are not
silly
thinking.
decisions.
I think they're
like
they're
Rob
making,
Holdings was silly. Like that's ill-discipline. Like that's
Xhaka going in on a player unnecessarily harsh. That for me is ill-discipline. But if you're looking at Gabriel picking up a second yellow card against was it City? He got a sent off against City, didn't he? That's a second yellow card. He shouldn't have gone in for that tackle. That for me is not ill-discipline. That's nous. That's no Ian Holden. He's about
Sorry,
to turn
Liam, I'll let you finish. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just that for me is something that I think Arteta can wean out. I don't think ill-discipline for me screams that he hasn't got control of the players, and I think he does.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just going to say I want to just print a quick retraction. My comment about Jeff Winter was incorrect. Nothing to do with Alan Smith, but he sent Roy Keane off, and he never managed. He never reffed a Man United game again for the rest of his career. Yeah. Which probably was over 9 years anyway, so it was factually correct. I just ordered it in a way that made it sound more enticing. Yeah. Thing is, though, Liam, you speak about now. It's like, do you not think? I know you want to defend Arteta, but do you not think part of it comes on him? City, your man's got a yellow card. Take him off.
Yeah.
Take him off. But and I know you might say, well, if he gets booked in the 8th minute, we can't just take him off straight. And I get that, but so many managers. You've just seen it when the player's looking a bit rough or he looks like he's going to get sent off. Just take him off.
Holding was getting turned
so many times. So many times.
You had Ben White. You had Ben White on the.
Who's that? Don't you mean Ben Maldini? In terms of Xhaka, though, Liam, so many times with Xhaka, I've seen it. Game's gone. Arsenal have lost.
Xhaka's bad for it.
Right? The excuses are already being made and prepared by your mates at AFTV, right? Why is Xhaka still on the pitch? Because all he's going to do is get himself sent off. Why is he still on the pitch?
Yeah.
That's why when we were getting battered the other against Chelsea and then against you and stuff, Rafinha comes off. He's asking to be booked. He's like basically throwing punches.
Yeah, they're in the same caliber with each other, right? They're like hotheads to the point that when something's not gone their way in the game, they're finished. The head's gone. Like complete head loss, and you can't get back into that. So I agree. There's certain players like that you would need to pull off. But
why isn't the manager doing it?
I think again, yesterday is like, Con, I'll ask you then. If he pulls Rob Holding off after that first booking, are you not questioning that? Are you not thinking, hold on, you're the manager. Arteta's the manager. If I'm the manager, I'm saying to Rob Holding, look, you've been booked now. You've been turned a couple of times. Switch on now. Think about it. Don't go in for those tackles anymore. You tell him, and you'd hope as a 25-year-old man, wherever old he is, professional at Arsenal football for 6-7 years, maybe, you'd hope he'd understand. You'd hope he'd like take that in and go, yeah, all right, sorry, boss, yeah, all right, stop that now. But clearly not. So I think as a manager, you can tell him, and you hope they can take it on board. But I don't know, Con, what do you think?
At the end of the day, he's put Rob Holding in that team, right? And he's an experienced guy. Like I said, he's played in cup finals against much more shrewd operators. I like to think that he can be trusted. One thing I'll say is, I know like what you said about like, did you just say, I think you just said like if he had taken him off yesterday in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, if me and you standing there yesterday and he pulls Rob Holding off after he gets booked in the 25th minute or 20th minute, whenever it was, are we not going, hold on a minute?
But it's not after that. We're saying like take him off after because there was 2 chances in between the time he got yellow carded where he got turned after that. So do you not take him off after those where he's or tell him stop sticking to him? Like why
of course.
Why are you bear hugging this guy every time he gets exposed?
Yeah, exactly. As the manager, you should say it, but you can't you're not a puppeteer. You can't manage these players and tell them or control them and to say you're not going to go in for that tackle. You can tell them.
That's what
And
I
you
mean.
hope they take it on board. But if they
Do you
don't,
mind- Do you mind if I jump in and ask what predicament are you in now? Who's going to be the starting centre backs next game?
well, I'm hoping Ben White's fit.
Let's say Ben
Go on,
Maldini.
Con, you go. Go on.
Let's say Ben Maldini isn't fit, Connor. Who do you think the two are?
Well, Rob Holding suspended. Gabriel come off. I don't know. I think Gabriel come off. It looked like a hammy.
Didn't look good, did it?
So I think he could be done now. That could be done. Tomiyasu can play centre back.
He's gonna have to be, isn't he?
Or I mean, I can't see him throwing in like a Zach Swanson off the bench, who's a centre back.
Can you recall Mavropanos or something like that?
Yeah, I think he's going to be.
Where's Pablo Mari now? Just get him out.
He's living up in Udinese.
They're doing all right,
He's
you know.
still trying to find Lukaku after Lukaku pinned him and rolled him back in bloody September.
Mari's finished. Let's be real.
Unfortunately, Pablo Mari's time is done. But it's going to be Tomiyasu and I imagine the Mr. Utility Man.
Do you not think White, like he was on the bench? Surely he's got to be like if you're
He's
on the
not
bench.
ready. Apparently, he hasn't trained since like 2 weeks back, or since the Chelsea.
Why is he on the bench then?
I'll tell you why, Maze, because he is so handsome.
Looking for-
Ben Maldini is. I remember when we signed him, and I thought "God, he's going to sell a lot of shirts. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, I've got another
He's even
league
better
fan
with a shirt
who always points out how handsome Ben White is.
Because Ben White, everyone under the age of 30 thinks if I was a footballer, I would be just like him.
I want to look like Ben White.
Tattoos, fake tan, always loads of gold jewelry on, just oversized sweatshirt. Oh. All right, Liam, quick one.
Yeah.
If that's Jose managing Arsenal, maybe he doesn't take Holding off. He changes formation and goes 5 at the back just to see it out and let him get his head back and put someone next to him to look after him or double up on Son.
Mate, we were 5 at the back.
Go 6. Go 10. Mourinho did that before.
Yeah, we it was last night. We started with Cedric, Gabriel, Holding, and Tomiyasu. And then for some weird, I know why, because we were worried about Son, even though he sort of to move across to the left and obviously pin Holding. But Gabriel, without the ball, Martinelli was filling in as like a left wing back for the first 25 minutes. So we were. I mean, we had a game plan, and I think it got away from us because of the circumstances that happened. But Mourinho, I think, would change something. Yeah, for sure. I think so.
What do you two say to people like me who have woken up today and thought, a little bit unjust, granted, penalty gets given that isn't a penalty, it's 1-0, just get on with it. Still in the game at 1-0. Do the players need to keep their heads, like you said, not get into those silly situations, just get to half time at 1-0 and then regroup and go for it?
Well, 11 versus 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You decisions go against you sometimes. We play in the Premier League now where we've just gone through it. The refs, they've got this in their repertoire to make shocking decisions. And that can't be a surprise anymore. Like Arteta's interview after the game alluded to that. He was like, I just don't want to speak because I don't want to be banned for 6 months and I want to be on the touchline on Monday night. It's no surprise anymore. So it's almost like when it happens, you're fuming, but we've all been here before now. Every team has been here, some more than others. But yeah, I don't think you can be surprised about it. I think as soon as it happened, Kane slots it. Right, we're still in this game. We've got at that point 70 minutes left to play. Let's go. So yeah, I think head loss was a huge issue. It's hard to put yourself in their shoes, right? Because it was a massive game and the stadium was electric by the sounds of it. So it's a hard one.
This is what I just touched on. At the end of the day, right? You can tactics, blah blah blah. You are putting 11 men out onto the pitch, and you're relying on them, right? Rob Holding is letting down.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, he definitely did. He got torched 5 times.
Yeah, and look, you could as a manager, do you want to? It would have been. Do you want to embarrass him and bring him off because he's been rolled a few times? I don't think.
Thomas Tuchel did it. I think that there is managers that do it.
He has done it. He's done it to Tavares.
Yeah.
He has done it to Tavares. Yeah, he's done
Twice.
it against Nottingham Forest 25 minutes he took him off, and
Yeah.
arguably Tavares hasn't been the same since. So
True.
it can kill a player's confidence. But Son's world class, right? You're not gonna. It's very rare that Son's quiet and a centre half or a fullback keeps him quiet, right? There's going to be a difficult moment. So he got rolled a few times. Yeah, look, Rob Holding's for Arsenal, really. I mean, he's a squad player, right? Unfortunately, we're in a position where he's having to play because Ben White's not fit or isn't match ready or whatever, and he's let him down. But I personally wouldn't have dragged. I wouldn't have dragged him.
I would have thought that would have been weird.
Yeah.
Interesting. Great discussion, guys. Very good. Look, we don't have too much time left, so I want to quickly get George's opinion on Leeds. And do you think you're done, George? Let's be blunt about it. You think you're gone?
Not yet, but if we don't win on Sunday, yeah, we are.
Do you think 4 points keeps you up?
We said this last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
I don't know if it does.
I think it does.
4 points would get you to 38. Burnley are on
34 as well.
34, but they have a game in hand. So I don't, Everton 36.
Forget them.
Yeah.
Forget Everton.
So essentially what we're saying is in 3 games, do Burnley make more than 4 points? Do you have a better goal difference? No, you have a worse goal difference, right, than Burnley. So like you tying.
I mean, I haven't seen anything. I don't think I've seen a good performance this year. I'm not even joking. I think Leicester, when we drew 1-1 at home, Leicester away, funnily enough, when we drew 1-0. That's it. We've had wins, but I can't think we've ever played anywhere near what we did last year.
I mean, that Wolves win was shocking. It was the worst first half performance from you guys I'd seen.
Well, as you said, that was it. That was red card turned on a game.
Yeah.
And if I was in charge, we'd already be down, because as soon as it went 2-2, I went, right, I want 2 banks of 4. And we're going to sit on this draw because we need the points. Because unlike Liverpool and Robert Mays, we don't have the referees in our pocket that sent us on a losing run after Pascal Strouk was sent off for a red card on Harvey Elliott that wasn't even a foul. But yeah, we deserve to go down. Like, as you can imagine, a lot of very unhappy Leeds fans.
If you pick up 4 points, though, are you staying up?
Honestly, it all depends on Burnley, because we essentially need 5. Because
Burnley's last 3 games are tough, right? Tottenham away, Villa away, and then Newcastle at home. They're not easy games. Are they picking up 4 points?
Well, in the universe that we've been living in about 25 minutes ago, Spurs are nailed on to lose that because they're Spurs. So that's 3. Villa are on the beach. Newcastle are on the beach. Hold on, Mays. All they need there is a draw. And if they get 4 and we get 4, our goal difference is -6 trillion. So we're down. So I'm honestly not so sure. I think Spurs beat them. We need to beat Brighton. And then Brentford's just disgusting. Absolutely. We never win. We never won in the Championship at Brentford. And I'm not sure if we're going to.
If you, though, right now, it could pick 2 teams to play, it actually could be Brighton and Brentford.
They're the last 2 teams outside of your top 6 that I would pick. I was saying this to my mates. I went, do you know we've beaten Brighton once in the last decade? Think about all the years we've had in the Championship with them. Brentford, Leeds fans, me included, going after them when we went up and they didn't, because Pontus Jansson went to Brentford, blah, 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 blah. In answer to your question, aside from obviously Norwich and Watford, who you'd actually want, I think I'd probably want...
I'd say Leicester.
No, I'd want Southampton at home. And I'd want... something about Newcastle. No, I'm not allowed that. Obviously, it would be Norwich and Watford. I actually think I'd have a bit of Newcastle, I think I'd have Newcastle and
you wouldn't want Newcastle away, though. You wouldn't want Newcastle away. Like last ever season, they'll be all pissed and it'll be a nightmare.
But Mays, they're safe. I get what you're saying where you go the fact because the blah 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 fans, whatever. Chris Wood's not there next year, is he? Guy Moraes will probably be in Brazil already. Like that's the thing. So they're probably the two I'd pick.
Rice. What? The only person that pronounces names like that.
Well,
Quinoa rice. I was like, what? Quinoa rice.
Sorry, Liam. It's just pronouncing things properly. So yeah.
Oh right. Well, would you take Burnley's fixtures over not their second lot, because they've got 3 games. So take out I guess you can't take out. Okay, take out the Tottenham, and it's straight shootout. Would you take Villa and Newcastle over your 2? Because I would take Brighton and Brentford over Villa and Newcastle.
I would take Villa and Newcastle all day, for reasons I've just told you. Brighton haven't beaten once in 10 years. Brentford, I know it'd be great to relegate another team, and I get that, but I think Brentford would love to relegate us more than most. Villa, like I've said, who cares? And I think Burnley at home to Newcastle, I think that's it. So
would you back yourself? It's again a dream world, fantasy world kind of question. If it come down to it, you versus Burnley, loser goes down, would you back yourself to beat Burnley away?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
In a straight shootout?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'd love that.
Because I think part of the problem that we've seen under Jesse Marsh is we've reverted far too much from what we were built to be. So as you'll all remember, it was just running around under Bielsa and doing all this sort of stuff. But now we've tried to go much more compact and play without any wingers, like playing with 2 number 10s behind a striker, which like completely nullifies Rafinha, etc., etc. So in that game, when we just go back to running around and Burnley just go back to sitting in banks of 4, I think in a must-win, I'd probably fancy us to beat them just.
Would you right now rather have Bielsa in charge over Marsh?
No.
Fair. Okay.
I think that ship sailed. Part of the reason we are where we are now is because we were shipping, I think it's like 3.3 goals a game or something.
Yeah, if your goal difference is better now, you wouldn't be 4 points be so comfortable if you're on tight. I'd be really backing that.
Yeah,
I think the big thing is that's really shown for me this year that I think a lot of fans forget, me included, is that I think you sort of think when you're a professional, you go in every day and you train and you just move on. But just imagine conceding 21, 22 goals in February we conceded.
Yeah.
Imagine just thinking, oh, we're going to get absolutely slapped today, and then they're going to be going after me in the media. My inbox will be full of abuse. Can
I ask one final thing, George, of Leeds? Are you annoyed at Ayling and James for their disgraceful tackles over the last couple of weeks, or were you happy to see Ayling go in, and show some fire? But I know obviously you wouldn't have been happy for the red, but were you wanting the fire?
No, just completely pointless. I think, funnily enough, similar to what we were saying before with Holding and Son, at that point, the game was completely gone. Your mate Simon Jordan was saying earlier, the way Ayling did it was he just wanted to crunch him in front of the Leeds fans, try and get that. And the thing is, had he actually won the ball and it not been such a poorly timed one, he might have got away with the yellow card there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, straight red. Everyone knew he was off. He's off. That's him out for the season now. So I was pretty annoyed at that because we were never going to come back from that game then. Not that we had a chance anyway, but and then against Chelsea, reckless foul, stupid tackle. I thought in terms of the actual crunching and getting the ball, I thought it was a great challenge, but the follow through was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible.
That was a nasty tackle.
That was a nasty one. That's a straight red twice, really.
That was an angry tackle.
That was an angry tackle, but what I want to see is Bamford has to play against Brighton. I don't care if he's only 15% fit. What have we got to lose at this point? Honestly,
I agree.
what have we got to lose now? There is no point us just trying to stay in it and then nick a goal. We just need to win now. Marsh obviously come under a lot of criticism for us not beating Palace and Southampton when we played them a couple of weeks ago. They're not the games that have got us here. It's losing 3-0 to Everton when they hadn't won since they beat Arsenal. It was getting absolutely, slapped by Newcastle when we should have beaten them. I think at the time we were like, if we would have won that game, we would have gone 10 points clear of Newcastle.
Mhm.
Now look where we are. So I know, Mays, you'll just remember, but it's not saying you, but you'll just remember the games we had on TV against Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, where we just lost. They're not the games where we've lost it.
No, I always say
And
that.
that's the thing. So
Interesting.
we are where we are.
Just quickly, I always thought that the appointment of Jesse Marsh was a weird one. Obviously, your knowledge of leagues is better than mine. Do you think they've done that with the Championship in mind? Do you think that they're going to say to him, look, if we go down, we want you to be our manager next year. We'll back you. We go again. You bring us back up. Because he was known as like similar to Bielsa, as to almost like basketball, like you attack, we attack. That's why it didn't work out for him at Leipzig. He fell out with the players at Leipzig because the players at Leipzig were like, we're like a basketball team. We're open. We can see goals. I feel like you probably could have gone for I don't want to be.
Say it.
Big
Say his
Sam,
name.
come on.
Say Big Sam.
Get
Big
in there.
Sam, yeah, Big Sam, like someone like that who knows how.
How's that man still out of work? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who knows the league, or someone who is a defensive style manager who can grind games out. I just the Marsh thing was strange for me.
Just imagine Aladici at Leeds. That'd be a match made in hell, that wouldn't it, Aladici?
I love how you all knew that who I was thinking about as well.
I think,
Aladici.
yeah.
What?
Do you not get it, Liam? Like the Italian, like grinding out results. And
Oh
defending.
no, I get it.
Aladici.
Yeah.
I think a lot to dissect with the sort of how we arrived there and the decision. I don't think they were always clear they were going to get rid of him when they did. In hindsight, you should. I think for me, I started to think we should get rid of him after the City 7-0, which I think was in December. Arteta walks after that performance. He does. Arteta gets hounded out. There would be a full-scale riot outside his house if that happened. I think it was sort of the time we're going to get rid of him. We want to get someone who's available. We've got a couple of easy games coming up. And to be fair, we did quite well. I think we got 12 out of a possible 15. I think the trouble is, which is why it's so difficult to digest, and is because nobody saw Burnley and Everton, particularly when Burnley got rid of Sean Dyche, just going like that. Nobody saw that. I thought when we beat Norwich, then Watford, drew with Southampton, drew with Palace, I thought that's it now. We need one more point and we're safe. Evidently not. To be honest with you, I want Marsh gone even if we stay up. Not good enough for me. Not inspiring. Doesn't even dress smartly on the touchline, which winds me up. He looks like a real soccer dad. But other than that, I mean,
against Arsenal, by the way, was brilliant. Did you see that? When you nicked the goal back.
Well, the worst thing he did was the embarrassing one against City after I thought decent performance. We're always losing that. And then he comes out to the fans after we've been beat doing this. As if to say, you guys are going to keep us up, which obviously not. But who I would have wanted? Nuno.
Yeah,
Nuno
I would have loved Nuno.
Nuno would have took the job, or we should have poached Marco Silva because he's a mercenary and he would go wherever pays him the most. And I think he would have. What, Maze? Why are you laughing?
I just love the mercenary term.
Well, he was at Hull, left to go to Watford, then decided, oh, actually, I want to go to Everton, and then bought Richarlison.
Was Nuno available then?
Yeah, Spurs got rid of him before Christmas because that's when I said Conte go before that went well, didn't it? But yeah, I wouldn't have minded that at all. But let's just see. What do you all think? Do you all think we're down, or do you think it's still in the realms of possibility?
I think you're gone. I think you were gone a couple of weeks ago. I think, but when Burnley started picking up those results,
yeah.
I think that was it. And the goal difference, I didn't realise how bad your goal difference was.
Yeah, it is bad. I think your last two games for me have been Arsenal, right? Okay, fine. That you can't really expect to turn up maybe and get a point at best and stuff like that. They're gimmies, right? But it's not been easy. You've had then Chelsea after it, but the way you went down in those games, up until obviously the second half against Arsenal, but the way you went down against Chelsea was, with a real whimper. And the Leeds, I think the Leeds of last year would have had like a bit of a basket. Yeah, but they would have had a bit of a basketball vibe about those games. They would have just gone for it. Yeah, and I don't feel like you did. You just didn't really let loose.
Well, I think that's part of the thing. So go on, Connor. Sorry.
Just quickly, I'm sorry for jumping in. One thing I will say is you have been absolutely ravaged by injuries this year.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You've missed the spine. Patrick Bamford is a good Premier League goal striker, I think. Calvin Phillips, obviously, heart of your midfield, and Cooper. You missed Cooper for a majority, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
Nketiah as well. You missed Nketiah.
It's been tough.
Yeah, and Nketiah from 2 years ago. Well, then again, we went away to Brentford in the Championship, and I think they went 1-0 up, and then Eddie came on and scored in like the 83rd minute, and kept. I think the thing is, you're right to say that, but everyone's looking at that going, we knew, I think in October or November, Phillips and Cooper were out till February. Why didn't we bring anyone in? Doesn't need to be a world-class player, just get someone on loan. Or just literally, but anyone. Like, I would have done it for free, like just anyone. And then in terms of Bamford, I mean, he's come back. He's played. I think it's something like he's played 300 minutes this year, or something like that. But what I will say, because there's nowhere to hide, I said to Mays we were in trouble when we drew with Newcastle 1-1. September 20th. We had basically full team, full squad. First 4 games, lose to Man United, fine. We always lose that one. Second game, do we have you then, Mays? We had Liverpool early doors, but we had Burnley and Newcastle, and we should have won both of those games, basically full team, and we drew them each 1-1. And that was when I thought we're in trouble. So yeah, we have been ravaged by injuries, but it's not like we had enough winnable games at the start of the year to do that. Mm-hmm. And also, Liam, and you've been speaking earlier about encouraging players to cheat. We could have had a load of games called off. Do you remember when you played us round Christmas, Arsenal? Right. And we had like a 15-year-old on the bench. Why didn't we just call it off? Because I get it. He wanted to be honest and honour and all that stuff, but live by the sword. And now it's looking like we are terminally ill by the same sword.
Interesting. Great pod. I do think you'll stay up. I think you'll beat Brighton, and I think you'll comfortably beat Brighton. I think you'll beat them 2-0.
You're drunk, mate. You're absolutely drunk.
And I think if you beat Brighton, you'll be up for the Brentford game. I think Brentford. Who gives? Brentford don't care.
You haven't listened to a word I've said, have you?
Mate, I don't care about these past experiences that you've had. I care about the here and now. I think Brighton will be on such a high after beating Man United that it's one of those games they'll just absolutely cack. And then going away to Leeds isn't easy. Ellen Road hopefully will be bouncing. And then I think if you beat Brighton, then Brentford you'll build up. And I know you said the 25% thing, but whatever. So I believe in you. I believe you'll stay up. All right, guys. We were going to do the Liverpool-Chelsea predictions. It's gone. The podcast has probably run its course, though. I'm just going to say, everybody, just say your score of what you think the goal will be. The score line will be for the FA Cup final tomorrow. I'm going to start with Connor. What do you think it's going to be?
2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool. Liam?
2-0 Liverpool.
George?
1-0 King Kai. Come on, the Chokes.
I think it'll be 1-1 penalties, and then I'm gonna go Liverpool. But yeah, I think that'll be it, guys. Unbelievable podcast. It was so good to get your thoughts on that. I want to do one Monday of the roundup of this weekend. So let's meet back then. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Cheers, guys.